across the spectrum of sweeteners, what is worst or most deleterious to your health sweetener, and what is most health-inducing sweetener?
So we're including artificial and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so artificial up to I assume you're probably gonna say honey or something of the
Yeah,
sort,
yeah,
but
yeah.
artificial to
Yeah.
just sweet stuff.
This is actually really important because I think that there's so much in the quote health space now that is containing artificial sweeteners because people fear some types of sugar like honey or maple syrup. I
It's
mean,
so crazy.
it's really crazy because we want I, you know, just thinking about protein powders for instance, no one will buy a protein powder with 20 grams of sugar per serving, even if that sugar is maple sugar or sugar made from dates or sugar made from honey, because people want the protein powder to have no sugar. And this is a whole separate conversation. Fine. But your protein powder is going to taste like garbage without some sweetness in it. So what do we use? We use stevia, we use erythritol, we use sucralose, we use aspartame. They use all kinds of garbage to make, and it's just so crazy to me, even monk fruit. So let's talk about the artificial sweeteners. I think that probably the worst artificial sweeteners are probably aspartame, ACE K, and sucralose. Those are the main three artificial sweeteners you find out there. And I'm basing that statement on trials in both humans and animals, suggesting that they affect insulin sensitivity negatively, potentially inducing anxiety. So there's a study with, I think it's aspartame
Yeah.
in rats, where levels of aspartame well below the FDA minimum dose equivalents caused anxiety in lab animals that was heritable for multiple generations.
Yeah.
So this is crazy to think that this is in a lot of food.
I wrote down, I think it was 15% is what I heard you say in another podcast.
15%
So
of the FDA dose equivalent for aspartame caused
yeah,
heritable anxiety
with rats.
in
Yeah.
animals.
Yeah.
But you think, has anyone ever done the study in humans? Like, that's
Yeah.
wild. That's 15% of the, like, you can use, that's 7 times less than they could actually put in there for humans.
And I heard you say as well, that it's a heritable trait,
Yes,
anxiety, so it passed on to their
it was
children. Or
heritable.
their not well, I don't know. Do you call rat children? Children?
Yeah,
Babies?
the litter.
Offspring?
Yeah.
Litter?
Yeah, the
What is
litter.
it children? Is it children just a human?
I don't know, like rat children,
I don't think you can say that.
rat babies.
I don't think so.
Yeah, but it's
They're
it's
rat babies.
crazy. And then sucralose, when you eat sucralose with carbohydrates, there are human studies showing that changes insulin signaling in a negative way. ACE K probably does the same thing. We know that all of those ACE K, aspartame, and sucralose negatively affect the gut flora by interfering with quorum sensing, which is essentially text messaging between your gut bacteria. So all the sweeteners are going to mess up. All those artificial sweeteners, quote unquote, are going to mess up gut signaling.
Mm.
So then you get into this realm of natural artificial sweeteners, stevia, what else? Erythritol, monk fruit. And stevia is used as a contraceptive in a lot of indigenous cultures. And there is evidence, I believe, from animal models that it acts as a contraceptive, that it actually interrupts fertility.
Hmm.
So stevia, I'm not a fan of. Stevia is also known to interrupt this quorum sensing in the gut. So stevia negatively affects gut flora, it appears to. Stevia doesn't seem to have the same effects on insulin signaling, but both stevia and monk fruit sweetener, which I'll talk about more in detail in a moment, affect insulin signaling in a potentially negative way.
Have you ever heard of the contraceptive in Asian cultures where they drop their balls in some hot water? You know about that?
I think this is essentially what we talked about earlier with the cremaster
What
muscle.
I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you heat the balls, yeah. If you heat the balls up too much, you won't make good sperm. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if I'm inhibiting my cremaster muscle.
You are.
Oh shit.
You're hampering
You
your
don't want
cremaster.
cremaster atrophy. That's the worst. There's nothing worse than cremaster atrophy.
You want those balls to be able to move.
It's one thing.
It's atrophying. You want a strong cremaster.
One thing I've learned.
Yeah. So even monk fruit, stevia, erythritol, negative effects in humans. Monk fruit is interesting to me because people think that like that's completely natural because it's monk fruit, right? Well, your monk fruit sweetener is not monk fruit. Only 1% of the monk fruit is these mogrucides, these molecules that are concentrated to make monk fruit sweetener. So we've taken a molecule that's very sweet and is 1% of a monk fruit, and we've concentrated it to make monk fruit sweetener.
Mm-hmm.
What could possibly go wrong? Right? We've taken something that's in very small amounts in a fruit and just amplified it, and we're giving humans a huge dose that we would never get evolutionarily. That's problem. And we know that monk fruit sweetener does cause insulin signaling to change. So again, it's a problem. I don't think stevia is benign. I don't think erythritol is benign. I don't think monk fruit sweetener is benign. And so people are losing their mind going, what am I going to do? And I think a tablespoon of honey.
Yeah. What are we doing?
Like,
What are we talking about?
how about some maple syrup, bro?
Not that big a deal.
Not that big a deal, man.
I feel like it comes back to some part of, it's almost like modern humans in some ways are afraid of their own nature.
Yes. We're afraid to have sex drive. We're
Yeah,
afraid that we like sugar, that we
yeah,
like fruit or fruit juice or
yeah,
maple syrup or honey.
yeah. Like the simplicity of honey, it seems too simple. Like I need something that's engineered from technology for me to trust it, which is an inherent distrust of the simplicity and the elegance of nature.
I think that
It feels
where
to me.
yeah, I think you're right. I think where it gets confusing is you could say, well, cookies are sweet too, but cookies, cakes, what's happened in agribusiness and all of these processed sweet foods is manufacturers are preying on the fact that evolutionarily we seek sweet foods.
Mhm.
And a Snickers bar is this bastard child evolutionary equivalent of a piece of fruit.
Yeah.
And that is not a piece of fruit. That's high fructose corn syrup, that's binders, that's wheat gluten, that's seed oils, that's contaminants, that's all sorts of problematic things for humans. But your body thinks it's a piece of fruit. So you say, yeah, I want a Snickers bar.
Mhm.
And my niece and nephew say, we love candy. And what they're really saying is, we love fruit. Like evolutionarily, our ancestors, and this is my 5-year-old niece and 3-year-old nephew, are not saying this, but the deep part of their brain is saying, my ancestors from 500,000 years ago would love honey when they could get it from bees. They would love maple syrup if they made it. You know, they would love to eat fruit when it's in season. That's what they're saying. But what they're saying in 2023 is we love candy
Yeah.
because candy is the most available food that has displaced those foods.
Yeah.
It's okay that you like fruit. It's okay that you like honey. And this is an important point. Sugar in the form of honey and fruit does not cause diabetes. It does not cause insulin resistance. It does not cause obesity. If you look at the literature, that's abundantly clear.
Yeah.
You can give someone red orange juice and it improves endothelial function. We talked about endothelial function, the cells on the inside of your blood vessels. How anyone can claim that fruit juice is bad for you when it improves your endothelial function is far. I don't understand it.
Mm. Isn't there something around the fruit juice being because you're lacking the fiber and the chewing and the release of amylase and the various different enzymes that help with the breakdown of sugar and just like you're slowing down the process of consuming the fruit. Isn't there something to that you're just kind of like bypassing one important aspect of digestion, or is there nothing there?
That's the theory, but there's no substance there when you look at it. I mean, there's
Really?
no substance.
Come on.
No, I can show you papers that if you look at GI, so look at glycemic index, right?
Yeah.
So what you're talking about there is glycemic index.
Yeah.
How quickly does your blood sugar spike?
Yeah.
It doesn't predict cardiovascular disease outcomes at all. It
Oh,
doesn't,
I'm not saying cardiovascular disease. I'm more just saying feeling kind of shitty.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, it
Really?
doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything. Like, if anything, I would say it's better. Like, the faster the sugar gets into your body, the better you're going to feel. And people are going to lose their mind.
I'm losing my mind, Saladino.
No, man, drink a glass of orange juice. You know, like you'll feel,
Really?
yes, it's not bad
God
for you.
dang it.
It's not bad for you. There's zero evidence that drinking orange juice and having your blood sugar go up is bad for any part of your physiology. That's what I mean. That's the same as eating honey, bro.
Yeah.
Like, these are high glycemic index carbohydrates. They're not harmful for humans, but
Mm.
everyone thinks they are, and I don't. It's just there's no good evidence for that. Now, there's a researcher named Robert Lustig who's, I think, rightly pointed out that processed sugars are bad for humans, and that when you remove sugar sweetened drinks, which are mostly high fructose corn syrup from human diets, humans get better. But you must not conflate that with fruit juice, orange juice, apple juice, honey.
Right.
And now I'm talking about like fresh squeezed apple juice, right? Now, is an apple juice from the store that's pasteurized and
Yeah, I feel pretty good if I get a fresh squeezed orange juice,
that's not in plastic,
like a nice lemonade.
right? What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, my intuition says that's okay.
Your intuitive eating,
My intuitive says that's
your
okay.
spidey sense says it's fine.
I think, bro, I think intuition is very important.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a real thing. I think a lot of the like debasing of one's intuition in podcasts and just like the common
Yeah.
zeitgeist in very scientific, rational, deductionist mindset that is kind of it's like sitting upon the culture that we come from, which is I think a lot of mysticism and animism, and there's a lot of other layers to what got us to here.
Hmm.
And presently we're in a place where if someone says the word intuition, everybody's just like, oh boy. And I think that perpetuates itself in a way.
True.
I'm kind of in a place of like, no, bro, like intuition, man. Fucking let's like go deeper.
Let's be intuitive.
Let's be intuitive, dude.
But like, let's go back to sugar for a moment and be intuitive. I'm with the Hadza. We get a hive. They literally make fire in 2 minutes from nothing.
Yeah.
Sticks. They're rubbing sticks together in 2 minutes. They have a fire. They smoke the bees out of this hive.
Yeah. My intuition feels like that's pretty awesome.
These Hadza go ham on that fucking honey, bro. Like,
Yeah.
they ate the whole thing. I was
Yeah.
eating this honeycomb with larvae in it. I'm eating these like bug larvae. They're nutty.
That's good.
Yeah. And
I
like,
like that.
the Hadza are just going crazy on it. They're not like, oh man, bro, you're going to spike your insulin. Don't do it so much.
Right.
And so I think that what I would say to people listening, if this whole conversation around sugar is breaking your brain, do not conflate research with high fructose corn syrup
Right.
with naturally occurring sugar in fruit juice, and honey or maple syrup. They're not the same thing.
It's the same conversation with the meat stuff and
It is.
capers.
Factory farmed meat is not the same as regeneratively raised meat in any way,
Yeah.
shape, or form.
Yeah.
If you do the research on high fructose corn syrup, we don't have to go terribly far down this rabbit hole, but high fructose corn syrup is made from corn. There's no fructose in corn. That's a dextrose, right? That's an alpha amylose polymer. It's all glucose. So you have to take this glucose polymer, break it apart with enzymes. Then you have to isomerize the glucose to make fructose, and you have to extract it and put it back together, or there's free fructose and free glucose. And though I'm not completely convinced that the high fructose corn syrup industry is being honest about this, supposedly up until 2008, there was a significant amount of mercury contamination in high fructose corn syrup. They say they've cleaned it up, but I don't buy it. Because if you look at the research, there's research in lab animals that if you give lab animals, mice, rats, and their litters, not children,
The children.
if you give them equivalent calorie amounts of sucrose and high fructose corn syrup, which should be the same thing, right? Sucrose is a disaccharide of glucose and fructose. High fructose corn syrup is glucose and fructose. You can give them the same amount of calories of high fructose corn syrup and sucrose, and the mice and rats with high fructose corn syrup get fatter, significantly fatter. So high fructose corn syrup, clearly worse than sucrose. The sucrose mice don't even really have that much problem if you're just feeding them sucrose.
Yeah.